Contrary to the stereotypes surrounding it, Africa is actually the richest continent in the world in terms of natural resources. In fact, over half of the world's share of valuable minerals like cobalt, platinum, and diamonds are located in Africa. Despite this, when the UN released its annual Inequality Adjusted Human Development Index for 2016, only 2 of the 44 African nations included were ranked above average. Setting aside the obvious monetary benefits, Africa's abundance of natural resources actually hinders its development because it invites foreign manipulation and breeds corruption. Even though caches of natural resources can attract foreign investors, many corporations find ways to compensate the country as low as possible. In his book, The Looting Machine, Warlords, Oligarchs, Corporations, Smugglers, and the Theft of Africa's Wealth, investigative reporter Tom Burgess recalled the construction of Calamba, a settlement built by a Chinese company for the people of Angola. The newly completed units were for sale for $120,000. About half of Angola's population lives below the international poverty line of $1.25 a day. It would take them each 260 years to earn enough to buy the cheapest apartment in Calamba. Calamba was built with Chinese finance and Chinese labor, and it formed part of a bigger plan that ensured Chinese access to Angola's oil. Similarly, in the article, Uranium in Niger, When a Blessing Becomes a Curse, the author explains how, in Niger, uranium represents around 70% of the country's exports, but contributes only 5% to the national GDP. As a consequence of these unfair dealings, many African countries are giving away more and more of their national sovereignty, to the point to which they have almost become puppet states to the major corporations. Even if a country tries to take control of its resource trade, it may not even matter. For example, in Congo, corporate tax evasion is rampant. According to the article, Why Mining Execs Don't Care If Congo Hikes Up Its Profit Tax, foreign mining corporations can evade any tax that Congo may raise through a process called transfer pricing. Transfer pricing is a practice by which companies set up multiple subsidiaries and trade between them. Through this method, multinational mining companies can artificially manipulate the price of goods and services entering and leaving a country in order to shift profits to low or no tax jurisdictions. Corruption is also prevalent in many resource-rich African nations. Most of the money that flows in through natural resource exportation is used mainly to keep the ruling party in power rather than to actually help the country. Burgess reported that the government of Angola spent 1.4 times as much on defense as it did on health and schools combined. By comparison, the UK spent 4 times as much on health and education as on defense. Bribery is another massive problem in countries whose economies focus on natural resources. Also, according to Burgess, during the 2010 Nigerian presidential elections, so much hard currency changed hands in Nigeria's capital that the dollar-naira exchange rate moved. As long as dictators have access to a highly profitable market with which they can fund their regimes, there will never be true change in Africa. While it may seem like possessing a large amount of natural resources could be a kiss of death for a nation, that may not always be the case. In the article, Why Natural Resource Finds Are More Than Just a Curse, the case of Mozambique, the author claims that the recent oil discoveries have been nothing less than a godsend for the country of Mozambique. Specifically, in 2014 alone, the discovery attracted $9 billion worth of foreign direct investment. From 2013 to 2015, foreign direct investment amounted to 70% of the country's average GDP, the highest share of all African countries. While this is very impressive, according to Transparency International, Mozambique ranked 153 out of 180 on their Corruption Perception Index for 2017. This means that a large amount of the revenue coming in through these new oil finds are likely being used for unethical purposes. In conclusion, the manipulation by foreign corporations and rampant corruption present in economies that overly rely on natural resources make them fundamentally flawed. These problems could be potentially rectified by increased democratization and more vigilance from the international community.